we discussed yesterday. Vijay, Venkat, Jupudi, Chintesh, Abhi, Madhu, Sharath, Jega.
How to apply native queries?
That is the last topic, right? We started with query,
Yeah.
placeholders. Why others are able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you can respond, right? Abhiram, if you are able to hear me, then you must say some noise, right? So I think, okay, you guys might not be able to hear my voice. Okay, so this we did one small. I mean, first we checked with the placeholders, query with placeholders, and query with
Name the parameters.
parameters. So finally,
Native.
so there was a problem yesterday with the native query. So yeah, it was small mistake actually. Yesterday, while defining query, we just gave the key as a name. So that is our mistake. So it's supposed to be value, right? So value. So after doing that change, now our application is up and running. So it's going to be pure native query. So there are some differences we have, right? So between the placeholders and named parameters and the native query. So try to avoid as much as using native query because that will make your code, your application as database dependent. So let's not do that. Try to use named parameters. That is the best solution for this query, right? So that is the reason why most of the tutorials and most of the blogs they use named parameters. Okay. So let's quickly test this native query code. Let's make every method as find all method. Okay, or else let's change it. Find all by native. So in the service, I think the method name is different. Find all by native query. So whenever we are using native query, we should take care about the data types. The data is getting stored in the database using zeros, right? Zeros and ones. So while you are fetching the data, make sure you are properly fetching it, right? So it's going to be zeros and ones. So that's why we are using integers here. But anyway, that is not as a good practice. Using native queries in application is not a good practice. For our learning purpose, we are doing that. So let's not do that in the real time. Okay. So let it get up. Let's go to let the application come up. So meanwhile, yeah, we will try without filters first. Then we will apply filter by filter and I think it's connected to the database. Yeah, the application is starting. 10 mappings. Okay, fine. It's started. Application is started. Now let's go to the Postman and send the request. Yeah, we got the response. It took 1 second, 1760 milliseconds, right? So let's apply the filter, right? So filter should start with query one. So let's get the Samsung mobiles whose price is 10,000. Right, still it is working. So this time we are using native query. Native query, yes, select star from mobile. It's not select M. It's a native query and see that these are the placeholders, right? So these are the placeholders. So this is what is the query we actually tried yesterday, right? So in the MySQL editor. So this is how the things will be working whenever we are using native query. So there is one more optionals available called the named query. So actually, the named query can be anything in this out of. Right? It can be a placeholder query, or it can be a named parameter query, or it can be a native. So the difference between named query is we will give some name to our query. Okay, we will give some name to our query. So how exactly we will write named queries? First let's go to the model class. So on top of your model class, let's use this annotation named query. Now more than one query, then use named queries. If you have one queries, then use at named query. So here you should give the name. What is the name of the query? That's proper. Right? You should give the name, yes, and we should define the query, right? We should define the query. Okay. So let's go to the repository, and let me do one thing. For better understanding, let me delete all this code. And now let's select this place called named parameters. Right? So let's select the named parameters. Now let's go to mobile. Keep that sorry. Oh, it is automatically doing the concatenation. So let's remove this extra. Okay, so paste it. We don't need this slash or slash. Remove these special characters. There also there might be some special characters. Let's remove those special characters. Here is our right. So let's give some name to this query. So let's call it as find all by using parameter. Okay. So that's it, right? So we provided some name to our query. We provided some name to our query. So now let's go to the repository. Write this method. The method name should match whatever the name you used in the named query. The same method should match it. So instead of typing the full thing, I just copy paste this and rename the method. Okay. So the method name should match whatever the name we gave to the named parameter, whatever the name we gave to the named parameter, right? So the same name should be given. Right? The same name should be given to the method. So what Spring Data JPA will do, it will automatically map, right? It will automatically map the query, the method name with the named parameter name, and it will take the string, right? It will take the query string, and it will be automatically used. This query is going to be automatically used while running this method, right? So Spring Data JPA will automatically take care about that part. So we don't need to do anything. So just call this method, right? So it's named parameter model. So we should call this here. Find all by using named parameters. So now let's go to the repository. So now repository has a plain method declaration. So actual queries are going to be kept inside mobile.java, entity.java file, right? So what is the benefit you're going to get if you do like this? You have proper naming convention, right? If you whenever you are writing multiple methods, so it's better to give a name to them, so you have better readability, right? So you get better readability. So that is the reason why we use get named query. So performance wise, there is no difference, right? And usage wise, there is no difference, but it's going to increase the readability. So there is some problem, it seems to be in the query. Using named parameter not found for mobile. Use assigned named parameter. Using named parameter. No property. find all by using named parameter. So this is what is method name. I think I forgot to save this file. Save the report. Save all. So some startup error, right? So let's restart the application. Okay, so no property using named parameter. Find all by using named parameter. Find all by using named parameter. Is it the name query name actually, or it should be name only? Let named query. So name equals this, and this is what is actual query. Okay. Why it's not working? Let's go to the documentation and see. Data.
The query is an entity or repository?
Entity only. Okay, so it's name and its query. I think we should use the placeholders. I think so, but no problem, it should work. So at entity, get named query, and this is what is your method name. Yeah, the problem is mobile dot. I forgot to give that mobile dot. Right? So by defining the name of the query should be entity class name dot the method name. Yeah, so that is what it is. Okay, class name dot method name. So it is going to be automatically mapped to this method, right? So it's automatically going to map this. So see the example here. Entity name dot method name. Entity name dot method name. So now let's start the application. Okay, so it's almost started. Now let's go ahead and send that. Okay, so it's working now, right? So you are getting all Samsung mobiles whose price is 10,000. If you send 15,000, if there any mobile has Samsung 15,000, that will be right. So this time we are using named query. So let's put those also back. So we have these many options. Get query with placeholder, and the named query supports all, right? It supports all. So it supports placeholders. It supports named parameters. It supports native query. It also supports this supports all these three. So let's go to mobile.java. So here, if it is a native query, then you might see one more option called native named query. I think there should be a different annotation. Yeah, named native query, right? So if it is a native query, then we should use named native query, not named query. Okay. So we can execute native query also by with some name. So that is also possible, but that annotation is different. Named native query. So this is also can be used when we are using native queries, but let's not use the native queries. So that is what is our end goal. Okay. But anyway, we don't use these queries also. Okay, so we will come out of these queries also. Because unwantedly we are applying filters. I mean, we are applying conditions on the unused column. For example, if you don't send any filter, but still your query having all these conditions, right? Null conditions on price, null conditions on status, null conditions and line of business. For example, there might be some columns, there might be some rows whose value can be null, right? Status can be null, price can be null, LOB can be null. So that time your query can result in some data. So that is not this actual proper way of doing the things, right? So unwantedly we are sending the complete query when there is no filter applied, right? So for example, in this case, no filters, but still we are executing the full query. So even though the customer is not selected any filters, still we are executing the full query, name, price, status, LOB. So it's applicable for all models, remaining models also, named parameter or placeholder or native query or labeled query, whatever it is. That what, so when we are sending some query, it can be a JPQL or a SQL query, native SQL query with placeholders or without placeholders, with placeholders or with the named parameters. We are always sending the complete query. Instead of preparing the query dynamically based on the filter selected by the customer, we are always sending the complete query. So that might be the wrong way of doing it, right? So why we are sending the complete query when the customer is not selected price? For example, if the customer not selected price filter, then don't apply that in the query, right? So don't put the price condition in the query. When the customer not selected name condition, then don't add that condition in the query, right? So that is what is a good way of writing the queries. So, so this is a bad practice actually, even though most of the people use queries, right? So we don't need to use queries, especially these kind of things, especially the filter processing I'm talking. So if it is not filtered and you feel that, okay, this complete query is required, okay, it's okay to use a query, but use JPQL, don't use native query. So when there is, when the things are not working with the JPQL, then only go for native query. So until unless if it is not, I mean, the things can be done in JPQL, let's do it in JPQL itself. I got the doubt. Recording is going. Good. Okay. So if it is by five,
Sunil,
yeah,
in mobile.java, you have given named query, right? So we can give more than one named query also in the file, right?
yes,
With
now,
different names, we can use it.
yes, named queries
Okay.
also there. Let named queries. So it will be
Okay.
multiple. Okay, so
Okay.
it's going to be an array. Okay, it's going to be an object, so it's going to be an array. So you can put multiple named queries.
Yeah, Sunil. Okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah, that is also there. That is also there. That feature also there. Yeah. Now, yeah. So now let's try to remove this kind of functionality, right? So when the filter is not selected, when the customer not selected the filter, don't send in the query, right? So I'm talking with respect to filters. So if it is not filter, like you see some kind of example, whatever they mentioned on the document, right? So whatever we discussing now, right? So that is only for filters. Okay. So if it is some filtering data, then go for specifications. If it is not a filter, like select you from select user you where email address, but this can be done using find by mechanism also. Don't write a query for these kind of requirements. So for example purpose, we were showing that, right? If it is not by find by ID and some complicated joins you would like to do, then go for query. It is useful. But when is our requirement is some kind of filtering, especially this case, right? Filtering the data. So don't use the query. So that is not a good practice. So what should we do? We should use specifications. Okay. Any questions, Anshul?
No, no, no.
Okay. So how to use the specification? What is the benefit we're gonna get? We will see. Okay. What is the benefit we're gonna get? We will see. So whenever we are using specifications, we'll do one thing. We will remove this entire code or else okay, let it be there, let it be there, don't confuse, we are not going to use any one of these. Okay, so for our learning purpose and for our reference purpose, I'm keeping as this three, but anyway I'm not going to use any one of these, I'm not going to use any one of these, right? So let's change this name to find all by using named query. Find all, find all filters by named query. Find all the filters by named query. Let's go ahead and change here also. Okay. So meaningful naming convention. Find all the filters by named query. Okay, fine. So anyway, we are not going to use any one of these. We are learning all these things. That's why we are adding. We are adding. In the project, you choose any one of these approach, not all. Any one of these. That might be named, might be placeholders, might be native, might be named query, might be named native query. So it's up to you what you will choose. Okay. So let's remove this. Let's call all. Yeah. So it's a named parameter. So let me add some more code here. So name query named query. So we will call return mobile repository dot find all these filters, and we will pass this parameter. Right. Name price status, name price status LOB. So name and price we should get it from request. Name and price should come from. Okay, fine. Okay, so now yeah, anyway, this is also is not our target, right? Don't use named query also, right? So we are going to learn the specifications. Right now we are going to learn specification. Okay, yeah. So how can we apply the specifications to repository? So we should extend one more interface called JPA specification executor, right? So our repository should extend one more interface called JPA specification executor, and for this is for which entity? For mobile, right? So this is for mobile. So this is the first step to use specification. So your repository should be child of JPA specification executor. JPA specification executor. Okay. So how can we call this, right? So for example, if you call find all, return find all, then you will get all repository, right? So mobile repository dot find all, you will get all the data back, right? So you get all the data back. So that is not is a method you're not supposed to. I mean, you're supposed to call. You have to call find all with specification, right? So there is a new method added in our repository called find all, and we will pass specification. So you need to create object for the specification, and you need to pass what is the specification you want to apply. So this method is going to be available when we extend from JPA specification executor. So this method from JPA specification executor, let's open this to see that find all with specification, right? Find all with specification. So we will call this method specification, and if you want to apply some sorting, you can apply pagination. You want to apply, you can apply, right? So let's try with the default specification first. Default specification. So we are going to call that method, but before that we need to create one specification. For example, how to implement the specification. Let's open that specification. So it's actually a functional interface. Okay, it's actually a functional interface. It has only one abstract method, right? So all these are default methods, right? So static methods, default, So there is only one abstract method. So you can write lambda expression, right? You can write lambda expression because this is functional interface. It's not marked as functional interface, but still it has only one abstract method. So you can write lambda expression, but as it is not marked as functional interface, don't write lambda expression. Let's write inner class. Let's write inner class. But lambda expression also can be written, but they didn't mark it as functional interface. So there are some risks, right? So maybe in the future they might add one more abstract method. So because they didn't add any functional interface on top of that. Let's go to service. Okay, how can we implement this specification? Okay, specification of type mobile. Import the specification. So so specification is nothing but some kind of filter, right? Filter. So let's write name. Okay. Name filter. Let's give the name as name filter. So let's write anonymous inner class. So new specification. Yes, anonymous inner type, and provide implementation for unimplemented, right? So it has only one abstract method, two predicate. So here we need to return some predicate response, true or false, right? Predicate response. Based on the predicate execution, your filter is going to be applied at runtime, right? Based on the predicate implementation, your filter is going to be applied. So now let's check how can we apply that filter. Okay, so um, let's return this, right? Root dot get attribute name. So name, right? Name. So this is what is a value of filter which we are sending from the front end. Okay, from front end. So root dot get it's going to return the object. Okay, let me cross check the code once. I think it's like criteria builder. So we should start with the criteria builder and equal. What we need to check, yeah, root. The first parameter is root dot get. So database name column, database name should be matching with request dot get name, right? So database name should match with request name. So that is what we are applying here, right? Criteria builder dot equal, and if the request doesn't have name, right? So if it is null, then let's not apply. If it is not null, then apply this builder. Okay, apply this. So I think this should work. I think return, if it is null, then don't apply any filter. If it is not null, then apply the filter. Okay, so this is what implementation for the predicate. Okay, so now let's send the name. We will write few more, right? Price. So we will write price, we will write static, we will write status, we will write LOB, so that you will understood how to join more than one, right? So some default serial version ID, let it be there. Fine. Okay. So we override the specification, and here what we are checking, if there is no request sent, if there is no name, then there is no request like name. So name sent. So we don't apply any filter. In case the value is coming, right? If whatever the value is coming, name Samsung, MI or Honor or some other type, right? So Nokia. So if any value is coming, then try to check that value with the name query name value. So now let's run. We are applying only for name. So still now we completed only for name. So let's remove this code and put the serial version ID for now temporarily. Suppress warning to get our models. Okay. Yeah. Now let's start the application. So now you see the difference. We will have only where condition name. Now you see only where condition name. We will not stop this server. It is taking too much time. Okay. We will do the changes. We have developer tools. Let it automatically restart. It started. So if I send mobiles, we should get all parameters. Yes, right. We have got Samsung, Honor, Nokia, right? MI, all details came. So now we send only name filter. Name equals to Samsung. So you see only Samsung mobiles are coming. So in the last time what happened, see the query, it's going to be only select star from, no where condition, right? It's select star from, so no where condition, just simple select star from query, right? No where condition. So this is what is the query, select all columns from mobile. So that is what you see, right? Let me put it in the notepad first, please. So no where condition, right? From mobile. So when you don't send any filter, no where condition. Perfect. This is what we wanted, right? Now let's send name filter, right? Now let's send name filter. So we should see where name equals to. Okay. Now let's send the name. You should see only Samsung mobiles, right? So only Samsung mobiles in the response. Yes, only we got Samsung mobiles. Now let's go to the console and get that query. You see there is one where condition is added, where mobile name match, right? So mobile name condition, mobile name condition. So now let's write one more specification for price, right? For price. So it is just copy paste, okay, and rename this to price filter, and this has to be applied for price, right? For price. So it is actually an int type. So let's change this to integer to int. Yeah. So it is an int, right? So we should check if get price, not null, right? So get price less than or equals to 0, then don't apply the filter. If the price is less than or equal to 0, let's not apply the filter. If the price is greater than 0, then apply database column price with our requested parameter price. Oh, sorry, I changed the name of the filter. Sorry, I supposed to change the below one. Let it be there as a name. So I should change it here. Get price. It's not null condition. It is number check, right? So less than or equals to 0. So less than or equals to 0, then don't apply the filter. Okay. If it is not, if it is greater than 0, some positive value, then check database column with requested parameter get price, right? Request parameter get price. But here we can send only one specification, right? We can't send two specifications. We wrote two specifications, two filters, fine. But how can we send these two as input to final? So the specification has utility methods and or. So we can join them by using this and operator, right? So name filter and price filter, name filter and price filter. So we're gonna apply two filters now. So the server is started, yes, on port 8080. Now let's go to this. So if you don't send any filter, you see now the query is going to have only select star from. Now the query is going to have only select star from, no where condition, no and condition, right? No where condition, no and condition. It's just select column names from mobile. So no where condition, no and condition. Perfect. If you send only name in the request, if you send the name only name. You see, only where condition, because only one filter we are applying, right? So where is enough. So it's going to print where this time. Yeah, one more select query. This time we should see where condition, right? Where mobile name. If you send only one filter, it's a where condition. If you send one more filter, price, then you see that the query will be generated with and condition. The query will be generated with and condition. So now let's send this. Go to console and take the query. So based on the input, based on the request parameter, the query will be generated dynamically. So where price and name, right? Where price and name. So now let's complete the remaining two specifications. So what is our favorite thing? How we can do that? Like we do copy paste, right? So we do like copy paste and do it, right? So let's not duplicate the code. So what is the common thing across all this? Do you notice? So the parameter is going to change and the input parameter, right? So if it is a name, then you check null. If it is price, you check less than or equals to. So if it is some status, if the status is not null, then you apply it. If it is there, if the status is coming, then you apply. If it is not coming, then don't apply, right? So let's not do this typecast here, because we can do on demand basis. But anyway, let's do the copy paste later. We do code formatting. Okay, so now this is status filter. Okay, status filter. So if the status is null, right? If the status is null, then don't apply the filter. If the status is null, don't apply the filter. If status is not null, then check with the database, right? So database status column. Check with the database status column, but make sure you are sending enum value, right? Make sure you are sending enum value. Okay, so if the status is not null, convert that into enum, and compare with the database status column. So let's join this status filter also and status filter. Let's do quickly for LOB also. It is LOB filter. If LOB is null, then don't do apply, return null. If LOB is not null, right? If it is LOB is null, then don't apply. If LOB is not null, then compare with the database LOB column and convert this into LOB enum, not status, it's LOB value of. Okay, so let's join this LOB filter also. Select and LOB filter, right? So the benefit we're gonna get with this approach, your query is purely dynamic, right? So it's not hard-coded query or it's not static query. So based on the input parameter, you're gonna apply, right? You're gonna generate the query, right? So it's not we, it's a data JPA, right? So data JPA will generate the query dynamically. So now let's test all the scenarios one by one. Let's clear the console. So let's don't send any placeholders, right? You see the result came and we got all the data. So now the query will not have any where condition and condition. It's a plain select star from query from mobile. So if you send one filter, so that filter can be anything. It can be a name, it can be LOB, it can be price. If you send price, so only where price is going to be generated, right? Only query is going to have where condition for price. You see where price, right? Where price. So this can be anything. So that condition no need to be. Let me make it big. Right, so that condition no need to be only price, so it can be any condition. So it can be name, it can be price. Yes, the name MI, you see only MI mobiles, right? Where condition, where name equals. So the query itself is generating dynamically, so you get better performance, right? So we are not sending the complete query, so the performance will be better. So unwantedly, we are not applying any conditions on unused columns, right? So based on the user selection, if we select only name, we will select only where name. If we select only price, we will select only where price. If we select combination of two, for example, name is Samsung, right? Name is Samsung, and price like name is Samsung, and price equals to 10,000. You see the Samsung mobiles. Sorry, I'm typing mistakenly. You're not telling me. Samsung, right? So name should be Samsung and price is 10,000. You see the query will have where mobile price 10,000 and name is the dynamic one, right? So name is the dynamic one. So yeah, so this is how the with the Samsung
I just Samsung or
typo mistake.
song or some it's like that.
Yeah, you see now a couple of results. Okay, so for filtering, don't use query, use specifications, right? Filtering, don't use query, use specification. And the biggest benefit with the specification, for example, today requirement is like and operator. Somebody will come and say tomorrow, no, I don't want and. Okay, let it be there. Let's provide maybe some other kind. We need to provide R condition, right? R condition. So, but anyway, first of all, let's move this code into some other method, right? So we are doing a lot of duplication here. So first of all, let's cut this. Okay, let's write a separate method, private, which returns the specification of type mobile. Okay, and create filter. Okay, let's give a generic name. Okay, so what are all the parameters we want? We want like what is the key, right? So which has to be checked. So let's send that string key. And what is the second parameter we need to check? Value, right? So the value. So that is also that can be anything, right? So it cannot be an object, string or integer, or it can be something, right? So let's define it as object. Okay, object. Okay, fine. So here what we can do, for example, let's keep it as it is. Let's do the change for name. Okay, first let it be string. Okay, so this is key and this is value. Okay, so if value is null, then don't apply. If it is not null, then apply the filter. Value is null, don't apply the filter. Value is not null, then apply the filter, right? So it is also possible to convert into lambda expression. That is also fine. So let's return this specification, right? So let's return this specification back. So instead of creating and returning that assigned variable, we can directly do the return here itself. It is also possible. Instead of doing in multiple lines, you can do it in a single line. So create filter, and this is going to work for all object types, right? This is going to work for all object type. So what we will do, let's call this here for name. So create filter, key is a name and value is a request.get name. Request.get name. Yeah, so we're gonna get a specification of type mobile. So here we are passing the name. So this is called as name filter, right? So this is called as name filter. Anyway, price is some integer, so it won't work for us, right? Price is some integer, it won't work for us. So what we will do, this one, right? Status and LOV can be replaced. So let's delete this code. Let's copy paste. Okay. So here it is a status, and let's call this as status filter.
Sunil, one question. Why we cannot do for price?
It is int, right? Int.
Okay.
So null condition won't be
Okay.
applicable.
Won't.
Less than or equal to, right? So okay, so here it is supposed to be some enum type, right? Supposed to be some enum type, not the string type. So let's take care about um, that part, right? So let's take care about that part. So what we will do, we will add one more condition. Is if it is enum type, it has to be taken care in a different way. Is enum type, is enum type. So if it is enum type, then the things has to be taken care in a different model, right? So if enum type, so what should we do? Let's create another specification, or else inside specification while creating, we can while returning this, you can check that if it is enum type, is enum type, then we should do the enum typecast. So first of all, let's check whether it is null or not. Value is not null, so we no need to worry, right? So let's return the null. So let's do something like this. Anyway, if the value is null, so we don't return, we don't do anything, right? So if the value is null, so it's a blind return null, right? So just if value is null, then let's return null. Good. If value is not null, and then do the criteria build, get key and value, fine. If it is enum type, then convert into enum, right? Let's convert into enum. So what should we do? We should get what enum type it is, right? So let's get a generic enum. Dot value of uh, yeah, so this is the value. Yes, this is the value, and what class type you wanted, so that also you need to pass, right? That also you need to pass. So class enum class. If you feel difficulty while writing this code, let's follow the above approach itself, but that is not a good practice. Okay, let me check for one more time. What is the signature? Okay, first one is a enum type, class type enum. Okay, second one is the name. So this is going to be enum class. Okay, fine. Second one is going to be the value. So you will get that enum created, right? So enum equals to,
Can we use an instance of
type is important. Okay. What is the problem? Right. You will get that actual enum type object created. Okay, so object value equals, we are passing the string. So yeah, so this is going to be enum value, and let's take the object as input. Method value class T string. Okay, we need to pass the string for sure. Not applicable for arguments. Class enum, class T, class T. Okay, so this is going to be T type. Okay, so this is also can be a string type. So fine, you will get that status, or if it is status, then you will get status. If it is not status, then you will get not status. So let's pass the enum value, right? So let's pass the enum value. So anyway, these two are same, right? Let's not hard code it. Okay. So it should work for both status and LOB. So let's
Still
call this
compilation
method.
error. Compilation error. Class T.
Mm, class of type enum. What kind of torture is this? Let's not, let's take it in a different way. Okay. So fine. If it is enum type, what we will do? So let's directly get the class. Class can be anything. So this is enum class. So what I will do, I'll just check enum class dot enum class dot if it is enum, then it has to be converted into status and LOB. So how can we know whether it is LOB or it is status? Okay, fine. So okay, if it is enum type, so the value is type status. So status equals to status equals to convert this string into status, right? So status dot value of value, fine. But this has to be happen when key is status. Okay, if the key is status, then convert that into status and return the status. So
Why we need to know the name, either status or log? It's not required, right?
no, you should know. Let me check anything is available on the enum like dot value of. No, you don't have any value of string, right? So you should know whether it is a enum status type or it is LOB type. So okay, if it is not status, then convert into LOB. Okay, so convert into LOB, line of business, LOB capital. It should be LOB and LOB value of and just return status or LOB. Okay. So if it is not enum type, then return directly as is, right? So if it is not enum type, then you return as is. So this is for status. So is enum type for status and LOB, and this is for name and any string type, right? So name and any string type parameter. Okay, so if it is null, then we don't even check any condition. If it is null, blind return. So it can be it can be name, it can be status, or it can be LOB, or maybe in the future some other things may come. So we don't bother about them, right? So just add some surface warning. Okay, fine. So now let's call this method. Okay. So the first one is name. We are passing name. It is not enum type. Let's pass false. Status. So let's send status. So this is enum type. So let's send true. Okay, let's send true. And let's create one more specification for LOB, right? So it's going to be LOB filter, and the key is LOB. Value is get LOB, right? So value is get LOB. Okay. So this is how we should minimize the code. We should write the less number of lines of code. Okay. Yes. So let's reuse the same functionality wherever it is possible, right? Yeah. Now let's do one thing in mobile also. Let's change this to integer, right? It's an integer, so it is an object type. Let's reuse for price also, right? So for now, let's reuse for price. So it's going to be price filter. If it is null, then don't apply anything. If it is not null, uh, get the value back, right? So if it is not null, get the value back. What is happening? Okay, it is taking second parameter is string, right? So that is a point. So let's take object. Okay, let's take object and convert into string here. Okay, so we don't duplicate it for a couple of times. We will simply call that method, right? So we will reuse that method for name, price, status, and LOB. So I think the server should have started successfully. Yes. Now let's test this for one time quickly. Okay, whether the changes are working or not. Let's go to Postman and send some filter. We should see only price 10,000 and Samsung. Yes, if I remove Samsung, then I should see only price 10,000 mobiles, right? So the code is working as expected. Let's test one enum type, right? So status. So let's see the available mobiles, whether the enum is working or not. Just oh, so there is something went wrong with the enum type. Status available, present, but the code is not working. Present status true. Okay, so key equals status. So the status should be created. Key is the status, value should be the enum type. Why it's not working? Let's debug, right? So let's stop the server, start debugging. Here we are sending status request.get status. It's enum type true. So if it is null, value is null, so it won't be null. So it will come down. Is of enum type true? Yes. It is status. Okay, then we are building the criteria. Equals key status. It should work. Why it's not working? So let's release this. Go to console, clear everything, just send in. Now the flow will be coming here, right? We are not using this. Leave that. Yeah, so what we sent key. Oh, why its name? Okay, so name. Okay, first filter. It is null. That's why it came. Okay, fine. So now price also null, right? Object is null. Okay, fine. So key status. price, I think problem with the price filter, I believe, right? Price 0 is going default. So that is what is the problem. Okay. So now let's go ahead, change this into to integer for now. Okay. Continue. Send. Now you see all available data coming, right? So let's check one LOB with online. Okay. Yes, you see. Yeah. Now you see only online mobiles, right? Only online available mobiles.
So what was the issue, Sunil, with that the payment?
No, the request has int, right? So the default value is 0. So price 0 filter is getting up.
Okay.
We changed it to enum. Anyway, that we need to change. We will we will discuss why I changed it later. Okay. For now, let's let it be integer. Why it is integer, we will
Okay.
discuss this later. Okay. So this is how we should use specifications, right? So this is how we should use specifications. So the benefit with the specification is query is appropriative. So we don't apply unwanted. Its query is not a static; it is a dynamic, right? So query is not static, so it is a dynamic. So it's better to use, right? It's better to use. Um, Specification when you would like to apply filter. So let's put this back. Other if I don't put this back, the below code will break, right? So the commented code will break when we uncomment. So let's quickly define this. Status is null, then null. If it is not null, then convert into status. So anyway, this also not required for us, right? So for our code, for now, this is what is the code required. So the benefit is like tomorrow, if somebody came and asked like, I want R condition, right? R condition. So it is just matter of copy paste this method and just change here, right? Instead of and R condition, R condition. So that is also possible, right? So R condition changes, and condition changes. So if it is query, then you should go to repository and change the query, right? So changing the query little complicated, and some exceptions also will come. But when it is Java specifications, they are most like they are more handy and they are more readable, right? So they are more readable, they are more handy, and the biggest benefit is performance wise. This is going to play a major role. But anyway, specifications works only for filters. Okay, only for filters. So this is how we do use specifications, query, native query, named query. Okay, and condition, R condition. We are going to filter the data like this. Okay, so with this we are done with the specification, query, named query, find by, and all. So there are few small concepts are there. Let me quickly complete them. Right, so let me quickly go over. So any questions in between? I know it's a bit confusion for you. You have to practice this to understand and get a better idea. Okay. Yes, let me quickly open the.
This data is a little bit confusing.
No, we are learning. We are just going into deep. Okay, based on the requirement. Like in my work experience, I never did this. This is I learned personally, so I never get any chance to implement anything. So you cannot
That's why,
guarantee.
Sunil, I think all these will be used in microservices concept, I guess, because in our real-time applications,
No.
I don't think we can use it.
Wherever you need filters, for example, if you are working on any e-commerce site, for sure.
Yeah, maybe it's like kind of e-commerce site and all, it will be useful.
Yeah. So Yeah, that is what I am telling. May not be all the people may not get the chance to implement all these things, but if you wanted to be master in Spring Boot, microservices, data JPA, okay, so you must know all these things. Maybe tomorrow if you would like to convert a full microservices developer, then you should know all those things. Okay, at least you should know what is specification, why we use, and you should do one or two examples hands-on, then you will remember for a long time. So I cannot guarantee that all these things we will use in the project. Okay, so based on the requirement we use it. Okay, so that's why I'm telling, in my total years of experience, I never used in the real time, just for learning purpose. I just go through the documentation, and I want you to guys to be part in the training. So that's why we are applying these filters, right? So if you are working some healthcare domain or telecom domain or some banking domain, so banking domain, I don't think so some filter will be there. Might be. So might be we don't get a chance, might be some filter where the reports to be generated, right? So that time we may use. So in project, maybe in some place we would be using it, but you didn't get chance to code on it, right? So might be there, but we might not be using it. So somewhere in maybe healthcare domain, the plans they would be showing, right? So everything it's a business only. Healthcare domain also they show some plans. Telecom domain also they show some mobiles plans. So by that time they would be using this data. So every project will have, but you may get chance to develop this or may not get chance to develop this.
Yeah, Sunil, can you print the query after substituting the values?
No, that is not possible. Due to security reasons, it won't be possible. You will get with placeholders.
Yeah, okay.
If you get that, go and get it enabled and some banking domain working and all, that's it. It's gone, right?
But for us to troubleshoot,
get,
right?
get the username, password, and quickly log in and transfer the money, deposit, and you itself, you go and surrender yourself. Okay, I did this. What they will do? Right? so due to some technology bug, so these kind of domains, I mean the applications won't take risk, right? So actual query generation, it's not correct to print also. Don't do that. Okay, so with placeholders it is fine. So with actual data, it is not at all suggestible. Okay, it's like kind of legal issue also, because you may print password and username password also. Then what is the security? Where is the security you providing? Right? So due to some legal issues, it is not available now. Without data, with placeholders only you can see the query.
Yeah, okay, Sunil. Yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly complete the remaining small topics. Like we completed query, named parameters, named query, advanced like operators, sorting and paging we will do. But anyway, before that, I would like to say what is this yet to know repository bin. Okay, so let me quickly open the predefined interface, predefined repositories. For example, JPA repository or CRUD repository or JPA specification repository. So all those repositories will have this annotation: no repository bin, right? No repository bin. So JPA repository has this annotation, paging and sorting has this annotation, CRUD repository has this annotation, and specification also will have that annotation. So somehow it is not there, but it's okay. So why those interfaces are annotated with that annotation? JPA repository, paging and sorting, query. So even this one also will have that. Okay, if it is raw interface, it is not having. So this API things are having, right? So why they have that annotation? Do you remember one story? Why HTTP servlet is abstract? Even though it doesn't have any abstract method, why it is abstract?
Because it want user to do the implementation.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure user writing his own servlet, right? So how we can make sure user writing his own servlet. The same way, how to make sure the developer write his own repository, right? So developer not supposed to use this JPA repository, CRUD repository. He can directly use the JPA repository, right? But that is not is the intention. So every user who is going to use this JPA repository or CRUD repository or whatever it is, page sorting repository, they should write their own repository. So how can they make sure that, right? So just because of this annotation, by using this at no repository annotation. So if you annotate any repository with this annotation, no repository annotation, so Spring will not consider that as a repository. So whatever the interfaces are not having at no repository mean, for those interfaces only, Spring will consider that as a repository, right? So it's like suppressing. So Spring will not consider this as a repository. The actual repository is going to be somewhere, right? So where it is annotated with that repository. So if you try to use JPA repository directly, it won't be possible because this is annotated with no repository bean, right? No repository bean. So in sometimes what will happen, in some projects, so they do try to create their own naming convention, right? We discussed this already in Spring Boot parent. So the people sometimes write their own parent and they extend it from there. But actually it is not like they create their own parent, right? So they create it like MSK-parent and they make this as child to Spring Boot parent. And they instruct that hey, going forward use MSK parent instead of using Spring Boot parent. So it is just a simple naming convention, right? It's just a simple naming convention. So instead of using Spring Boot parent, we will use MSK parent or project related parent, right? So why we do like that? Because we want to make sure that like tomorrow, for example, maybe we have 20 microservices. So tomorrow when we would like to upgrade our Spring Boot parent version, so instead of changing in all these 20 microservices, it is better to change it in one place, right? So that is what is the main intention of doing this. Why we do like this? Because instead of changing, if you don't have MSK parent, so your microservice is direct child to Spring Boot parent. So tomorrow, if you would like to update or upgrade the Spring Boot version, Spring Boot parent version, you need to do these many project changes, right? That is not suggestible, right? That is not suggestible. Then what should we do? We should create our own parent and make that parent as child to Spring Boot, and going forward we will use this, right? We will use this Spring Boot. We will use MSK parent as parent. So tomorrow when we would like to update the Spring Boot parent, just we will change MSK parent. All the childs will get reflected, right? So all the childs will get reflected. So the same concept here also. So sometimes what we will do, instead of extending from JPA repository or CRUD repository, we will write our own repository, like base repository or application repository, something like that. Okay, and we will ask all the repository developers, right? So just extend from base repository instead of extending from JPA repository. Instead of extending from JPA repository, so you just extend from base repository. Okay, but base repository is not actual repository. The actual repositories are the entity model, right? So these are entity specific repositories are the actual repositories. So but still we don't want to get it extended from JPA or CRUD repository. So we want to extend from base repository, right? We want to extend from base repository. So whenever you do create like this, you do annotate this base repository with no repository, right? No repository bean, right? Yeah, no repository bean. So we are instructing Spring saying that, okay, this is not the actual repository. So no base repository is not actual repository. So the actual repositories are going to be developed by the developers, right? So why we follow this kind of naming convention? Because let's go to the last example where we are extending from multiple repositories, right? Multiple repositories. So if you would like to do this kind of behavior, let's create some hierarchy, right? So let's create some hierarchy. So this base repository is the child of is the child of JPA repository, which is the child of CRUD repository, is the child of JPA specification. So we will put the configuration related stuff here, and the developers no need to worry about how that configuration specified. They can directly extend from the base repository. So they can get specifications, they can get JPA methods, they can get CRUD repository. Sometimes we may write our own repository, right? Application specification level can go that level. So that feature also may be available, right? So the common methods we will put it here, right? The common methods, application common methods, we will put it here. So we no need to duplicate that code in all the repositories. So that time we will do this kind of we will implement this kind of functionality. So that time we will use no repository bean, right? No repository bean. So Spring will not consider this as a repository. Spring will consider the actual repositories, right? Entity-based repositories are the actual repositories. Okay. Then one more question I will ask you: why it's supposed to be an interface? Why we are saying interface? Why it is supposed to be an interface? Why can't it is a class?
We can extend more than one.
That is one feature. Okay, you can handle that extension also. So you can write base and you can write actual repositories or classes.
You
Because
cannot create object.
okay, try something more. Okay, there is a huge concept is being used in the Spring called proxy. Okay, so it's actually a design pattern, proxy. So all your repositories are actually proxies. Okay, all your repositories are actual proxies. So you are writing interface. Where is the implementation? Without implementation, how can you get all this functionality, right? So at runtime, Spring will create proxy classes for these repositories, and those proxy classes will have the actual implementation. So now let's go to service class. Let's go to service class where we are injecting this repository. Okay, let's put some breakpoint here, right? So repository, right? Let's put some breakpoint. At runtime, we can see what is the actual implementation, right? Actual implementation. So let's start the service. So once the service is up, we will hit we will hit the service and we will see. Okay, I think I'm starting. I need to start in the debug mode. Okay, yeah, the application is starting. Let it start. So once it's started, I will show you actually what is the implementation, because at runtime someone has to implement it. So who is that someone? Spring. So Spring internally use proxy design pattern. So all your interfaces are going to be implemented by the Spring. So that is the reason why they are interfaces. Why the repositories are interfaces? Spring certification question it is. Okay. It's a Spring Core Professional Certification question, F8. Yes. Now let's go to Postman and just click send. So you just put mouse on this. See, $proxy, right? So proxy. So it's going to be created. So it's a simple JPA repository, right? Its actual object is like simple JPA repository. So it's actually a proxy object who is going to process all the things, right? Who is going to process all the things. So that is the reason why we are using interfaces. That is the reason why we are using interfaces. So at runtime, so it's going to be some proxy who is going to take care about our interfaces implementation, right? Who is going to take care about actual repository is not interface. At running, it's going to be some object. It's going to be some class which implements this interface. So who is going to create that class? It's going to be created by Spring. It's going to be created by Spring. So that is what is actual proxy class, right? So that proxy class is going to have. So now tell me, now let's connect the dots, right? So we are telling at no repository bean and we are saying the proxy. So why we need this no repository bean? So now we are instructing Spring to which classes the proxy class has to be created. The proxy object has to be created, and for which interfaces the proxy object is not required. So for JPA, CRUD repository, pagination, right? For JPA CRUD repository, pagination. For those interfaces, we don't want proxy. So for our base also, we don't want proxy, but because that is some kind of uh, code duplication interface, right? So it's not the actual repository. The actual repositories are going to be developed by the developer. So how can Spring come to know for which repository the proxy has to be created and for which repository the proxy is optional, right? So the interfaces which are annotated with no repository bean, for those interfaces, Spring will skip creating proxy classes because proxy class is costly, right? It consumes some memory, right? It consumes some memory. It is costly. So let's not create proxy for all repositories. So for which repositories it is required, for those repositories only Spring has to create. So when you implement this kind of feature, the base repository, and if you keep the common methods in the base repository, so make sure you annotate with the no repository bean. So Spring will avoid creating proxy for those classes, right? Spring will avoid creating objects for those proxy classes. Okay. So that's what is the use of no repository bean, right? So it looks like interface at runtime that is going to be class. So that class is going to be generated automatically by the Spring Boot. So let's Spring. Okay. So that is what is the use with the at no repository bean. Okay. So any questions?
No, then got it. Got
No, Sunil.
only this specification a bit confusing that we have to practice.
Pardon?
Only the specification, right? We have to
Yeah.
practice because that is a little bit confusing. Rest is okay.
Okay. So this is an interview question and as well as certification question. So no repository bean, right? At no repository bean, we used to use for to skip the proxy class objects. Okay. So let me check how many proxies are created in our Spring Boot application. Let's try to get that information. So what we can do, there is a method available on application context to know how many beans are created in the context, right? So application context equals to control shift to, it's a Spring application context. Okay. So context. So there are some methods are available. Get bean definitions. Okay, get bean definitions. So we can come to know what are all the beans are created by the Spring container. It's actually an array, right? So let's convert this into a list and print it on the console, right? So arrays dot as list dot for each print that information. Okay, system dot out colon print ln. So whenever we are starting our application, so we see that the data will be so we see that the information will be printing on the console. So let's start the service. Okay. So we are done with almost all the concepts in data JPA. So we are going to see the last sorting and pagination, how to sort the data and how we can apply the pagination. So we are with that we are done. So we are almost cover like 60 to 70% of the documentation. There are few things like DSL support is there. So domain specific language support, some concepts are there. Mostly we don't use like 90% of the microservices will not use that options, but we still have that feature available, right? So these are extra benefit, like what is the package specific and namespace preferences, query methods, query return types. What are all the return types we should return? At the repository query return type and FAQs. Okay, just read these FAQs. Okay, so go through these FAQs. Will give you the better knowledge on it. And so this is all about the project. Okay, So, so this is the actual documentation we go through, right? So some namespace, and this documentation also talks about XML specific, right? So, and this is not the Spring Boot specific. So if it is not Spring Boot, how can we do? So those things also will be covered. Okay, so query methods, yeah. So some expression language support, okay, and some query hints we can give, okay. So some hints also you can provide, and how to work with the stored procs, and some DSL support is there. Let me check where it is. Okay. Okay, so query DSL predicate, some DSL support is also there. So domain specific support it is, but anyway it's very rare. Okay, so that itself is a completely different concept, querydsl.com, yeah, which is really powerful. I mean, you get better perform, but it's a completely a different kind of technology. Query DSL.
Rachana.
Okay, DSL itself is a complete different technology. So we don't use mostly in the microservices. So that's why we are not touching it. Okay, but still we covered almost 50 to 60% of the documentation. I think the application is started. You see the beans which are created by the Spring application, right? So these many beans are created. So somewhere you see that proxy. Right? So aspect J proxy. So there are so many proxies are created internally. So CLib auto proxy. So many beans are created. Okay. So these many beans are created by the Spring Boot, live reload server, and security listener, JPA, some JPA proxy, something will be there. I don't remember that exact name. So that proxy will take care about this, right? So REST template auto configuration, embedded server. So there are so many beans are created automatically when we start Spring Boot. Okay, so these many objects are created by Spring now. Even our main class also will be created somewhere. What is our main class? Mobile service application, right? So you see somewhere mobile service, mobile controller, mobile service applications. Our main class also will be automatically instantiated by the Spring Boot. So Swagger related configuration, so response builder, request builder, security parser, open API builder. So internally there is a huge thing is working in the background, right? So dispatch servlet is created. So some error, some default validator, bean name view resolver. Okay, fine. Yeah, so let's do that quickly. Let's implement the sorting and pagination, and we can close the data JP. Right?
Sumit,
So,
the repositories proxies, right? Those are at runtime will create or at server startup.
they will be created at server startup time. Okay, so it will scan all the methods. That is the reason why if you do any mistake, for example, if you do some mistake, so it will try to create the proxy. Inside that proxy, it will generate that domain specific queries. At the time of application startup time itself, this query will be converted into a prepared statement. So while generating that query, while converting this query into prepared statement, if there anything goes wrong, so while creating that proxy, it will throw that exception. Okay, all the objects will be created at the time of application startup time itself. We discussed this in the Spring Core, right? Lazy. At the time of lazy, we clearly understood all the beans, if it is not lazy, right? If the beans are not lazy, they will be instantiated at the time of application startup time itself. So proxy, it's only one proxy will be created, right? So that proxy also will be created at the time of application startup. And if there anything goes wrong to create the project, so if any mistake happened, it will throw exception and the application itself will not be started, right? The application itself will not be started. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, let's do quickly the sorting. For example, let's get all the mobiles by sorting by name, right? So yeah, we already have that method, right? Find all by sorting is there. Okay, let's go to service and you can check find all by sorting where it is. Find all, right? So you just check that method is already available, right? So find all, we have sorting is already available. So sorting can be mixed with specification also. Sorting can be mixed with the specification. So let's keep the specification as easily. Let's pass the second parameter as sorting, right? So let's pass the second parameter as sorting. So whatever the rows, whatever the records are coming, so let's try to get those records by doing some sorting, right? So by doing some sorting, let's sort by name. So it's going to be already there is an existing interface is available. We are going to use that. So sort, okay, dot by how do you want to sort, right? How do you want to sort? I want to sort by name, right? I want to sort by name. By default it is ascending order, right? So sort by name. So now let's start the application and see how the data is coming, right? So the property should be entity. So whenever we are playing anything in the data JPA, it should match your property in the mobile, right? So entity class property should be matching. Okay. Yeah. So it is about to start. Okay. So it started. Now let's go to Postman and send the request. You see Nokia will come first, right? So because of sorting, if you remove the filters, you see the data will be coming in a sorted order, right? So first Honor, then MI, then Nokia, then Samsung, and finally uh, Samsung, right? So the data is going to be sorted um, by the type whatever you specify, right? So type sort by, right? So sort by name. So if you give sort by country code, right? Um, so sort by country code, okay. So you get the results by sorting by country code, right? So we have four, right? So China, Korea, India, Vietnam. So China will come first, then India, then Korea, then Vietnam. So now let's send the request. You see the Indian made, the China made products will come first, right? China made products will come first. Next, India made, then Korean made, then Vietnam made, right? So so it depends upon you how you want to do it. So this is the default sorting. If you would like to do like descending order, right? So you can specify direction and uh, property, right? So it's like direction. Yeah, so Spring Boot, yeah, direction dot descending or ascending. By default ascending, so let's not do it ascending, let's do by descending. So descending of name, right? So descending of name, let's save the changes. Pretty easy, right? Sorting is kind of eating like a chocolate, right? Yeah. So we saw the too much complicated things, so now we are feeling these things are easy now. Sorting. So now let's send the request. You see the Samsung will come first and Nokia, then MI followed by Honor, right? So it's a descending order. So it is also possible to implement the pagination. So we don't have huge data to implement the pagination in the mobile service. So let's go to other table, right? So we have other example. So in Spring Data, we have surplus data is available. So here we can implement pagination. So whenever you are fetching the data from the database, where is the main method? Yeah, main class is here, right? Yeah, main class. So if you would like to implement some, let's load all the cities, right? Let's load all the cities. Oh, sorry, I deleted that method itself. So we didn't write any, okay, command line run won't run here, right? Okay, got it. So repo dot find all, right? So you have some pageable, right? Some pageable sorting. So how can we implement pagination? So you just call uh, pageable dot, I think it's a page, not pageable, page, okay, page dot, okay, what is the actual implementation? Yeah, page request, I think, page request dot, yeah, so from where to where you want, right? So from 0 to 10 you want, so this number you have to manage, right? So how many number of results you want per page, that you need to take care. So when there is a request coming from the client, right, so from the front end, they should send the numbers, these numbers, right? So existing plus 10 plus 20, like that you should manage. So if you run this code, you see you get only first 10, right? So first 10. So for each, let's print the data, system.out colon println. Okay. So now you see that you get only 10 records. Okay. So on paging, you can implement sorting also, comma, sort of, whatever we did now, that also possible. Okay, these numbers has to be managed by ourselves. It can be by front end or it can be ourselves. So we should be very careful with those numbers. Okay, you see, you got only first 10, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 records, right? And if you would like to apply some sorting, yes, you can do. So you can say sort dot off type by name, right? So let's do sort by name. I don't know which sort we imported. I think it's the domain sort only. What is this? Sort by, not of, right? By, yes. Sort by name. Yeah, so now you see that the data will be sorted. Like first Almir will come, then so this the city which is starting with capital A will come first, right? So what's up? I think I need to do one more close paralysis, right? So sort is closed. Okay. I think, let me check the exact method. I think first, oh, we have pageable, we have sorting differently. Oh, we don't have two methods in the same thing. Let's go to city repository. Which one we extended JPA repository, right? Then why it's not? We can't do two things in one search. Find all, pageable, and sorting. Pageable and sorting. Okay. So page request. In the page request, I think can we do any sorting? We'll check that out. Okay. So let's do page request of. Yeah, we have sorting can be implemented here, right? So the sorting can be implemented here. So 0 to 10, then do the sorting, right? Sort dot by name, right? Sort by name. There we go. So let's run this. You see the result will be printing in a different way. Okay. Why? What's up? Listening port 8080.
Yeah, it's already.
It is a simple standalone application, right? Where is the port? Right click. It's not a Spring Boot application. So it's a simple Spring application, Java application. Um, I think I made a mistake while running that. That's fine. Yeah, you see now so the data which is starting with A will be coming first, right? So you see the query, right? From select order by limit, right? So order by limits. So JPA will generate a query in a perfect way, right? So perfect query optimization, it will take care about it. So you no need to worry the query performance, those things whenever we are using data JPA. Okay. So with this we are done with data JPA. Okay, so now you should implement filters, right? So filters with data JPA integration. Then let's quickly review whatever we completed till now in our microservices journey, right? So we wrote a country service, right? So which is RESTful web services, right? So REST with Spring JDBC, right? With proper exception handling, yes, plus with proper documentation, right? Open API. I covered for my microservice mobile service. I asked you to implement it for country service.
Yes.
Right? So these things are done. Now for mobile service, it's not JDBC, it is
Yeah.
data JPA with proper exception handling. Okay, proper exception handling. Yes. So from tomorrow, okay. So there is one thing which is not part of our microservices. So I will show one example for SOAP, but we are not going to use because our intention is more focus is on reactive programming. So we will implement one more microservice called mobile accessory. So here it is also REST only, but it is reactive program. It is not, so it's like REST means, so MVC, right? So it's a MVC, so Spring MVC. Yeah, so here it's going to be WebFlex. Okay, so reactive programming plus data JPA only, but it is reactive JPA, right? Reactive data JPA. So the database is not RDBMS, it is MongoDB. So we are going to use MongoDB. So these functionalities, right? Exception handling and documentation, what we will do, actually this is common for all microservices. We will move them out like a common framework. So, right? So there is a common place we will put it and we will use it in every project. So exception handling, documentation, validation, right? Validation and filtering, right? Filtering. I think filtering also we implemented. So filtering. So these filters are two types. One is um, time logging plus we will generate some tracking ID in the header, right? So we will generate some tracking ID in the header. Yes, and the third one is security filter. Okay, so security. So these are the common things we will put away out from the exception handling. So we will learn how we will also learn each method how much time it is taking to log, right? So each method how much time it is taking to execute. So that we will put it by using AOP, right? So AOP. So and these are the common things. So we will move away from this each application. So we will create some common project and we will put it over there. So here we will also add some JUnit test cases, right? So filter also common, so I will remove from here. So above all the features are common, so those are common, so we will put it in a common place. So later I will show how to separate them. Okay, but anyway, in between I will show one SOAP web services. It's like we will write. Okay, so these things we will do. So we will produce SOAP web service. Okay, we will consume SOAP web service. So we will write a client. We will do proper exception handling. Okay, we will do security, basic security, not JWT token. The basic security we will implement. Okay, the basic security in header we will pass some username, password, and we will authenticate against the database. That's it. Okay, so that SOAP header authentication is going to be performed. And we will write a client who can call all these services and generate accumulated response. That is again going to be reactive module. Okay, so there we will use web client. So right now we used REST template, but I will show you that is not recommended to use. The recommended client and the recommended HTTP client going forward web client in Spring Boot. So we will write separate client service where we use web client. So okay, here also we will have the J. Okay. Yes. So before we jump into microservices, we should complete all this development. I hope you are doing it. Okay. So I don't want to say that, right? So it's your responsibility to complete parallelly. So at least for now, we completed this part, right? So country service, JDBC, yes. Mobile service with data JPA. Okay. With exception handling and the documentation. So this part is completed. So each module I will cover. Okay, and it's your responsibility to integrate with other microservices, right? So please don't expect everything should be done from my end. So I will do it in one microservice. It's your responsibility to do it in other microservices. Okay, so next we will start SOAP. Okay, SOAP. Or else can we do one thing? If it is work for everybody, I think people are okay. Everybody is there. Let me ask the question now itself. If it is works for you, we will have a long session on this Sunday, purely dedicated for SOAP. So now we will start, or else we will start it and we will close it on, or else we can pure dedicatedly we can close this on Sunday. So now I will start this one validation part. From tomorrow, I will show you how we can provide validations, right? Validations to microservice.
Yeah, fine, sir. No
Fine,
problem.
Sunil.
So what do you say? Sunday is okay means I will put it up, I will park aside and we will have a complete 1 day 3-hour session. Like we will take a break, 30 minutes break, 1.5 hour session, 1.5 hour session. We can close SOAP as much as possible. If anything missing, we can complete it on next day. Because SOAP is nobody using these days, so we can quickly close this. We can focus more on the rest with all these features. It's up to you. If it is works for everybody, then we can have a session on Sunday. Only SOAP services. That is completely independent.
Yeah, no problem. So is okay.
Fine for me.
Yeah. If it is not working for you, then please tell me. If you don't say, I will consider.
Yes.
Is it in the morning or evening?
It's going to be the same model. Once we had a long, we had a long session, right? Like US morning time we will plan. Okay, so it's going to be, we will start at 7 p.m. IST. Okay, Sunday 7 p.m. IST to 10:30 p.m. So 30 minutes break. Okay, 10:30 p.m. IST. So it's you convert into your time zone. So if it is EST, then it should be 9:30 a.m. right? 9:30 a.m. Sunday. So it will continue like 3.5 hours, right? So 9:30 to 3.5 hours means I think it's 1 p.m.
Yeah, that is fine.
Yeah. So Venkat has to check this. I think for Venkat also it will work evening time, just because of evening time, right, Venkat?
Yeah, it's fine.
So he is into some other time zone. So far, I think he's just for him. I think it's like 4 or 5 p.m. I don't know exact time. So like it may start like 4 p.m. for you, and it will continue 7:30.
Yeah.
But let me know if it is not working for anybody. Okay. I'll consider.
Yes, Sunil, fine.
We can have it, right? So we can quickly close this. This is completely independent. So that's why I want to take it separately. Okay. And we are not going to use in our microservices. For your idea purpose, I'm just teaching this. And for sure, these days, none of the services are going to be pure SOAP services. Like very, very, very rare scenario. Like 5 to 10%, right? So very less requirements, so we will give very less priority. We will quickly close. Try to close. I think 3 hours may not be possible. Like at least because we have these many things, right? So we'll see produce client, whatever it is possible. Maybe next day, like Monday morning, it will be closed, like for sure. Okay. So by Monday morning, we will complete the SOAP, and so it's today it's Wednesday, right? Yeah, so validation will take one day. Then, if possible, we will quickly jump into AOP. AOP. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you. I will plan and I will let you know. I will edit the invitation. Okay. Sunday evening, 7:30 a.m. 7:30 p.m. IST to 10:30 p.m. IST. It's a 30 minutes break. 7:30 to 9, 30 minutes break. Again 9:30 to 10. Like that we will plan. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir.
7 p.m. right? 7 or 7:30.
7:30 p.m. Oh, sorry,
Okay.
7. Sorry, 7. Yeah,
Yeah.
3.5 hours, right? 30 minutes break for sure. Okay, 30 minutes break. So 7 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9 break, 9 to 10:30. We can't sit 3 hours continuously, right? So let's have.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Then thank you. Thanks for all your support and interest. Okay, see you tomorrow, sharp 8:15 a.m. IST. Bye bye.
Sunil,
Yeah. Any questions? Sorry.
no. It's just, are you going to start another batch, Sunil?
Um,
I'll ping you. Okay, no problem. I'll ping you and